You're watching Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Julia Kim, and these are the headlines on the continent. International Criminal Court today softens the restrictions on Ivory Coast's former president, Laurent Gbagbo. The ongoing appeal of his acquittal for crimes against humanity had confined him to Belgium. Fancy a drink? South Africans will be able to buy alcohol legally again from next month as the government further eases coronavirus restrictions. And our correspondents in Cameroon visit one rural community where an illegal alcoholic beverage is being touted as a cure for the coronavirus. But first, judges at the International Criminal Court today lifted some of the restrictions on Laurent Gbagbo, which means the former Ivory Coast president will no longer need to ask the court's permission to travel outside of Belgium. He currently resides there as he waits for the prosecution's appeal of his acquittal. Well, for more, let's go to Stephanie Vandenberg, who joins us from The Hague. Stephanie, tell us, what does this decision mean?
Well, as it says, some of the restrictions are lifted, but you can't really say that Gbagbo now is a free man, because the trouble is, while he doesn't need to ask the court for permission to move, he could potentially go wherever he wants, but he would need that state's approval to go there. So he could go to Ivory Coast in theory, but Ivory Coast has to be willing to receive him. And also Belgium has to be willing to receive him back after he goes to Ivory Coast. So there's a lot of questions about where he could go now, because the states will still have to agree to take him and to take him back afterwards. And now with all the coronavirus travel restrictions, I think we'll probably see that he will remain in Belgium for the time being, because there's not really so many places for him to travel to.
And Stephanie, give us an idea of the timeline. How have we come to this point?
Well, he was released, or he had a very long trial at the ICC, and kind of halfway through, he filed for a motion of no case to answer, which means that the prosecutors haven't proven their case. And that was granted, and he was acquitted of war crimes in a sense. But so you would assume that he would be released at that point, but the prosecutors appealed this decision to set him free, and then he was released provisionally, so to Belgium, with assurances that he would come back for the appeal. But this is in international law always a big question of whether people should be on provisional release or not, and whether if you release them without conditions, if they will come back to stand trial, because it's obviously the trial is in The Hague, he's in Ivory Coast or in Belgium or far away, he might not want to return. So this is a big tug of war between his lawyers and the court, with the court wanting to hold him close and his lawyer saying, this is ridiculous, he was acquitted, now he should be let free.
Okay, Stephanie Vandenberg, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for that update. Well, let's move on now. And South Africa has announced a further easing of its coronavirus lockdown. From the 1st of June, most sectors will resume operations. But as businesses prepare to reopen, the future of South African Airways remains up in the air. Planes have been grounded since the lockdown in March, but administrators at the SAA say it's not planning to resume domestic flights. Now, the state-owned airline is currently under bankruptcy protection after almost a decade of heavy losses. And after a 3-year battle, the SAA pilots have now successfully sued their former chairwoman, Dudu Mayani, for financial mismanagement. Jane Finnegan has more from Cape Town.
Another week of scandal and confusion for SAA. Earlier in the week, the carrier said it was ready to resume domestic routes, but today said no. With the easing of the lockdown from Monday, the 1st of June, they're not in a position to fly. Administrators and unions are already deadlocked over the future of the bloated workforce. Administrators say some jobs have to go if the airline has any prospect of surviving, but the unions are digging in tight. This is not a point when any union wants to be seen not to be really ferociously defending jobs. Meanwhile, the former chair of the airline, Dudu Mayana, a close ally of the former President Jacob Zuma, has been censured in the Pretoria High Court, where she was found to have been a delinquent director and banned from holding any directorships for the rest of her life. Now, significantly, she is the first person linked to the scandal we call state capture to have faced any censure. And this was a case not brought by the state, but by civil society, by an anti-corruption organisation and SAA's own pilots association. The damning evidence against Ms. Maena, who denied any wrongdoing, is now going to be handed to state prosecutors. But observers say it reflects a lack of political will to bring any influential figures to justice, that the first and only scalp to date has been brought through a civil action.
Well as reopening industries, South Africa is also relaxing its ban on the sale of alcohol, but not on cigarettes. Well, from Monday, people will be allowed to buy liquor 4 days a week for consumption at home only. For almost 2 months, South Africans were forbidden from purchasing alcohol and cigarettes. Critics describe the measure as puritanical, but some have welcomed the change. Laurent Gbagbo has this story.
In the streets of the Soweto township, cigarettes may be out of sight, but not out of mind. Since South African authorities banned tobacco sales as part of the COVID-19 lockdown, many residents have been turning to bootleggers to satisfy their cravings.
Sithola phansi, sithola nge-black market, sithola nge-black market. And bayalazi udaba nabo laba abayivalile bayayinkawuza.
South Africa's tobacco and alcohol ban has had disastrous consequences for pub owners like Tebogo. He's barely had any customers in weeks and says he's even had to resist offers by rich clients to buy liquor under the counter.
Our VIP customers would call you on the side saying, is there a plan you can do for me, promising to spend 10,000, and you couldn't even entertain it. So it's been very, very, very hard.
South African authorities have justified the ban, saying it's led to fewer alcohol-related crimes and accidents, an argument that's resonated with some Soweto residents.
Things like in the hospitals, like people drunk and driving, people beating their wives, arguments and all those disagreements have gone down because there's less alcohol.
South African authorities recently announced they would ease the ban on alcohol sales from June 1st. But tobacco will, for now, remain illegal.
Well, gunmen on motorcycles have killed at least 74 people in northwest Nigeria. The shooting spree took place in 5 villages in Sokoto State, close to the border with Niger. Now, the armed gangs are known as bandits and have repeatedly attacked this area. Only last week, Nigeria's army bombed their camps in an effort to curb the violence. But neither military operations nor local peace talks have worked. Clashes between rival communities, armed groups and vigilantes have killed thousands since 2011 and displaced nearly 250,000 people. Well, since easing its lockdown at the end of April, Cameroon is struggling to get people to respect safety measures. To the concern of health professionals, rural communities are self-medicating with a local alcoholic beverage that's being touted as a cure for COVID-19. Our correspondents went to the locality of Vandenberg for this report.
An aerial view of a rural area, 100 kilometers from Yaoundé. Neither face masks nor social distancing can be seen between villagers at this drinking spot. Their daily ritual is the illegal consumption of a dontol, a locally made alcoholic beverage normally banned from sale. According to local beliefs, this drink, which has an unknown level of alcohol, is seen as an antidote to the coronavirus, an unfounded rumor which Apollinaire believes in. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, this regular consumer is convinced the hot drink protects him from contracting the virus.
Ça dégage la méningite. Combien de fois le corona ne pourrait jamais m'atteindre. Quand je bois ça, le coronavirus s'éloigne.
A few meters away, Victorine makes her daily stock of the hot drink. She uses maize and sugar, which she ferments for 4 days under a blazing fire. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, her business has been booming.
I sell a litre for 1,300 francs CFA. You saw the scoop. The one I sell for 100 francs, we sell a lot of it. Sales are going well. People drink a lot.
Using alcohol to combat COVID-19 is a rumor which is widespread in rural areas. Much to the dismay of Professor Yap, a renowned epidemiologist working with Doctors Without Borders. He monitors the progress of the coronavirus in Cameroon every morning, as the country is now the 7th most affected in Africa.
Drinking alcohol, whether Odontol, gin, whiskey, or any other alcoholic drink, has no known effect on the coronavirus to date. Alcoholics have a very fragile immune system, and they may be killed by the coronavirus if they get contaminated.
For now, official figures do not show rural areas in Cameroon as having been affected by the pandemic. But test kits are only mostly available and carried out in big cities throughout the country.
Well, that's it from me, but stay with us. Up next, France 24's Nicolas Germain will bring you our special program, Africa and the Coronavirus Challenge. Our correspondents in Cameroon, South Africa, Kenya, Tunisia and Madagascar tell us how COVID-19 is affecting the continent. That's at 10:10 tonight, Paris time. Don't miss it. That's it from us. Stay tuned.